Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa. So the Forum for Democratic Change joins the country in mourning the passing of two senior UPDF officers. The officers, as you know, Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa and Major General Lokech. We send our condolences to their families, to the armed forces where they have been serving, and also to the country. These two officers represent two worlds. Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa, as you may have known, is one of some few Ugandans with some level of education that went to the world to fight dictatorship when Uganda was being ruled by Dr. Milton Obote. Pecos Kutesa was very instrumental in this war that brought Mr. Museveni to power. If you read Museveni's book, I think, if I'm not mistaken, either Hoima or Masindi, he led one of those invasions attacking the barracks of government in which they confiscated a number of firearms. And those firearms were the ones to later help them expand their operations. So that particular attack was led by Pecos Kutesa. So he was a proven fighter. But despite that history, his rank in the military and profile, Pecos Kutesa lived a fairly modest life. In fact, some people may not even know him. If you read the UPDF Act, he's one of the officers who are permanently in the law as historical members of the UPDF Council, the Forces Council, having commanded one of the battalions at the time 7 took over Kampala. So despite that history, the rank and the profile, the man lived a modest life. Not the lives of other UPDF soldiers, many of them we know, like Tumwine, who think the country owes them because they went to the war to fight. His name, you may not have heard it in land grabbing and other related corruption scandals. So therefore, as the FDC would like to invite other senior UPDF officers to emulate a person like Pecos Kutesa. Carrying a gun and having a rank and the pips on your shoulder does not give you ownership of the country. You remain like any other Ugandan, but serving in one of the sectors that build the country. You can live a very modest life and we will remember you for it. So that's why we want to mourn Kutesa and ask other UPDF officers to live the same life. Major General Lokech, on the other hand, has been described by many as a hardened battle, a hardened fighter, battle-hardened fighter, the Lion of Mogadishu. I don't know whether people reflect on these labels that they put to people. Because the moment they say you are battle-hardened, in a battle, you go to fight and kill people. Because battle is not football that you are scoring goals. You go to kill and eliminate life. So the moment they describe you as battle-hardened, you know they are putting a label to you that there are many souls that you have yourself eliminated. The Lion of Mogadishu, what did he do in Mogadishu? It could only have been killing. That's how the country is sending away Lokech. And the last assignment, one of the last assignment that he personally handled, Lokech, was the hunt down of the suspected people who wanted to kill General Katumba Wamala. That is the most high-profile assignment that he presided over. And what was his scorecard? At the time, the country was expecting him to present suspects to court. 4 of them had been murdered. The others had been severely tortured. So Lokech, as his rebel goes, battle-hardened, the Lion of Mogadishu, was a ruthless commander. And you know ruthlessness, what it means. He was the ruthless commander who glorified gun and power. And that's how you will be remembered. We only, as a party, want to invite people who serve in high military offices and police. You can serve with humility. You do not have to kill and murder people for the country to remember you as a soldier. You can defend the territorial integrity of Uganda without having to eliminate people. So therefore there are lessons to learn that while Lokech may not have held life as something important, today he also goes to meet his creator, including those that he had sent unlawfully. Because suspects under the Ugandan constitution are supposed to be presented to court. It is only court that can order so and so his life be taken, not military men. So we want to ask people who are in command, in UPDF, in the police, please, all your actions must be lawfully. Life is precious. Don't terminate it. Follow the lawful channel if life must be eliminated. Combating crime is what everybody desires, but it must be done lawfully. Major General Kayanja, you remember him, Operation Wembley. Very dreaded organization. He was also combating and fighting crime. There are many souls he took along with his operation. So we don't want to remember people for these kind of operations. We want to remember you for treating human life with dignity. Police officers must learn, as I said, that life is precious. You only take it if it is lawful. The second matter that I've been asked to speak to you about is the COVID management or mismanagement. Over the weekend, we began a fourth week since Mr. Museveni relaxed the lockdown measures. Life in the country has returned to normal, almost to where it was before these measures. Even the sectors that we are supposed to remain closed, these sectors have opened themselves, as you may have seen. I think the only bars that did not operate this weekend are the ones that don't have customers. But the rest, at least where I moved, they are all working. So the FDC continues to be disturbed by Museveni's continued refusal to open places of worship and schools. The second wave, according to scientists, including Museveni's Minister of Health, has now fully subsided. The scientists, including Museveni's Minister of Health, are now warning of a devastating third wave. The FDC, as communicated earlier, wants the country fully open during this period when the second wave is terminating. This will allow everybody, including places of worship, including schools, to cover up lost ground. Children should be facilitated to quickly sit for promotional exams and sent back home before the third wave struck, because we have already been warned now. Places of worship likewise should be open, because inevitably they will have to be closed again when the country is hit with the third wave. The FDC welcomes the news of the vaccines, which we are told will be arriving in the country starting next month, notwithstanding that part of this donation, part of these vaccines are donated. We've been told that by the Minister of Health that we'll be receiving 9 million doses of Johnson & Johnson, 18 million doses of Chinese Sinopharm, and 18 million doses of unnamed type that will be supplied by COVAX. Our fear as a party, therefore, knowing how this NRM government works, these vaccines are likely to arrive in the country when we don't have a vaccination plan. You remember it took us nearly a whole year to exhaust 1 million doses. For 1 year, we are still fidgeting with 1 million doses donated by COVAX, by the French, by other people. As a party, we are now demanding for a vaccination plan. Government must publish a vaccination plan showing, in fact, because we now know that the vaccines will begin arriving next month, we need even to have a list of those who will benefit from the first batch that will arrive in September. We also need a list of places where vaccinations will be taking place. We want to give NRM free advice. The easiest way of vaccinating teachers and students is doing so at school. Schools must be immediately opened. So when these vaccines come, you simply go school by school. By this time, this government should be signing a memorandum of understanding with private health providers, because we will inevitably require their services. The number of medical workers at the government disposal cannot be enough to roll out a nationwide vaccination campaign. So we need to be signing memorandum of understanding with private providers to use their medical personnel. We should, when these vaccines come, 9 million, we should even think of a public holiday. Declare a public holiday or two and make sure everybody is vaccinated and these vaccines are finished within a week. And then you wait for another batch. We don't want to leave it in the hands of this government that, you know, was fidgeting with 1 million doses of vaccine. We also need planning. Now that we have been warned of a third wave, we need a plan, a master plan of how this country will go through another wave. You've seen, including developed countries, New Zealand has just closed just because at the beginning they had 1 case, now they have 16. Just 16 cases, they closed the entire country because they don't want the COVID to spread. The Minister for Health told us last week that should we be struck by the third wave, we may have 15% of people affected needing hospitalization. And in our estimation, we may have 9,000 people who will require intensive care. Mind you, government, even as I speak to you today, the total beds they have in government hospitals is 3,000. I'm talking about beds where there is a bed, a mattress and a bed. But we may have 9,000 people who require intensive care. So this is what government must be doing now. Instead, you hear them do what absolutely is not necessary for life around this time of COVID. So we need also to plan. Must we require to be feeding people again? Like most likely it will be. Because if you are struck with a third wave and you're going to announce lockdown measures, it means you need to have a plan of feeding people, and now you must have a list. We've been now twice struck by serious COVID, at least once. But each time there is a new list. The first beneficiary of food, we are not the beneficiary of this money sent by Nabanja. Maybe the third wave, it will be another group. Because we don't have a list of people who are vulnerable. They just imagine one list one day. So we now need to have all these things, because that's the lesson that you learn when you have been hit by a problem not once, but 3 times. And even a 4th time we hear, it will be there. So that's what the FDC demand. And this free advice, we can call Mr. Museveni to listen. But should he fail, as a party, we may have now to ask the population, something we have avoided during these COVID days. We avoided asking the population to engage itself in some civic action. But should Mr. Museveni refuse to listen, we'll go through under another wave. You're asking people to stay home. You're not feeding them. Inevitably, we'll have to ask people to conduct some civic action for him to know that we don't enjoy the way he's managing this country. The third issue is a Myoga. The Myoga versus parish model. Again, last week, Mr. Museveni met with NRM MPs at Kololo, asking them to support the establishment of cash distribution centers at parish level, that they must establish some development committees, and next year's budget, Museveni wants 1 trillion shilling to be distributed at a parish level. So the NRM MPs, we want to warn them not to turn themselves like these drivers of garbage vehicles, that everything they put in you drive, whether today you are carry dogs, tomorrow you can carry the water, the other day you carry. Because the same MPs who are investigating how 250 billion shilling of Myoga has been mismanaged, they were in call telling Museveni, now you bring a parish model. You are investigating what happened to 250 billion shilling, but you are cheering up Museveni as he calls you, please support. I am bringing another project called the parish model. Parish model, which is a new song Mr. Museveni is singing, and he threatens it will be his economic miracle that will get Ugandans out of poverty. This financial year that started in July last month, 202 billion shilling was put in the budget. It was not put in the budget to start the distribution. This money, 202 billion, was put in the budget to set up parish structures, recruit parish chiefs, and I don't know, development committees. So Uganda is going to spend 202 billion to create some structures at a parish level, and then next year these parish committees will be responsible for distribution of 1 trillion shilling. Let me tell you how this thing works. In Chile, where I am an MP, under Myoga, they brought about 1 billion shilling. 1 billion shilling is what was brought. Under the parish model arrangement, because each parish in Uganda will receive 100 million shilling. So the whole of Chile, 500,000 people will receive 500 million, which will be distributed at a parish level, which means each parish in Chile will receive 100 million shilling. Chile Caron, as a parish, is home to 200,000 people. 200,000 people. So even if that money is for buying onions and tomato, it cannot finish there. But under the parish model, that money will come and it's going to be the turning point, the economic miracle of Mr. Museveni. We want to warn Parliament in general and MPs in particular not to risk people's money again, taxpayers. First of all, this program has been brought without any planning. If you look at the documents by Minister of Finance, this is what Kasaija presented to Parliament April this year. He came to Parliament and said to establish parish model, we will need to be phasing out Youth Livelihood Fund, Uganda Women Empowerment Fund, PRDP, which is made in Northern Uganda, Ruwenzo Development Program, NADIS Seedlings, Agri-led Operation Welfare Creation, and UCDA Seedling. So for Kasaija to find the money to finance the parish model, he has to phase out the programs that I have read to you. And in this budget, he had provided 453 billion to start it. Surprisingly, Museveni, who has been praising Operation Welfare Creation led by his brother, General Salim Sare, at call he said these things have not helped people. Now he has changed. From Operation Welfare Creation being a miracle to now a program that has not helped people. Now the money must be taken to the parishes. There are several other documents here that will prove to you that these guys are fugitive. In this ministerial statement, they are giving a roadmap of establishing of the committees. How do you establish the committees when the money has already hit the account? So this money most likely will be eaten the same way money of Myoga 250 billion has been eaten, and it will not be a miracle if Mr. Museveni is promising. So I want to ask Parliament and warn MPs not to turn themselves into garbage trucks that you don't determine what is put there. Whether it is dead dogs, whether it is kasasiro for you just cut. They must be able to tell Museveni no, because the earlier programs haven't worked, we need to think of another economic model. Finally, I want to address myself on the Afghan question. Hosting refugees from Afghanistan is a matter that has been exhaustively discussed by the country. As you are aware, the Americans, the US has asked a number of countries to act as transit countries. People who are being evacuated by Americans are going to temporarily be hosted by these countries as they are being processed for their final journey to America. Already there are countries like United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Germany, Poland, and others that have offered to help America in this evacuation. One of the countries that was asked to also help is Uganda. Of course, the story here is being presented differently. All that we are being asked is to provide space for America to bring people, then to process them. If you followed yesterday, the President of America asked private airlines to provide the aircrafts to begin flying these people from these transit countries. So even the ones, if they are ever brought to Uganda, it will be the same story. They are not asking Ugandans to host Afghan refugees to resettle. They are only asking Uganda, like all the other countries, that please, can you provide us with a temporary sanctuary? So bring them and then fly them away. As FDC, we sympathize with the thousands of Afghans who have endured war for the last 6 decades. Remember the war with Russia, the civil war between the Northern Alliance and the Taliban. We sympathize with them because their country has been turned into a ground for proxy wars by international powers. We would therefore, as a party, be willing to offer them any assistance so they can live a happy life, including hosting them in our country should the need arise. We only demand that all the protocols, health, COVID-related, must be followed before they are brought, so that they don't become a source or they are not accused of being behind the spread of COVID should the country be struck by a third wave. The fall of Kabul Taliban must serve as a lesson to all countries, including Uganda, that are drafted into costly foreign aggression led by America. Those who escorted America to Afghanistan are now embarrassed because America did not even share with them a full withdrawal plan. You can see all the international powers are just fidgeting because none of them had been prepared that America would leave as soon as it did. The very people that America went to fight in Afghanistan are now standing shoulder to shoulder as they process refugees. And you hear Americans say we are in contact, we are coordinating with the Taliban. The Taliban who were terrorists yesterday are now good people helping in evacuation. The same story will happen with Al-Shabaab in Somalia. So these people who were drafted in this aggression in Somalia will be embarrassed the same way others have been embarrassed. We have absolutely no reason to participate and support either ourselves occupy or support the occupation of another country. Every country must determine its own destiny. We can only offer advice, but not physically go and establish governments, as if ours here is a miracle. So that's the view of the FDC. We do not support foreign aggression. It has never worked anywhere in history. Even if you occupy a country for 100 years, one day you will leave. The way you leave it is what is important. See how America has left Afghanistan. So those are the points that I've been asked to speak to you